He offered me money to leave you. The sentence was so absurd that for a moment, I genuinely thought I had misheard him. The man sitting across from me adjusted his expensive watch and calmly slid a check across the table. The number written on it was enough to buy estates, enough to build businesses, enough to change most people's lives forever. But all I could do was stare at it, then at him, then back at the check. The private lounge fell silent. Outside the floor to ceiling windows, the city sparkled beneath the evening sky. Inside, tension filled the room. He leaned back in his chair. You can keep adding zeros if you want. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. Did he truly think this was how things worked? Did he think everything had a price? That everyone eventually sold something? Perhaps he had spent so much time around people who valued money above all else that he couldn't imagine another possibility. I slowly pushed the check back toward him. I think you've misunderstood something. His expression remained calm. No, I understand perfectly. No, my voice was quiet. You really don't. He folded his hands. You have your life, your responsibilities, your country. He paused, and I have mine. I knew exactly what he was trying to do. He wasn't buying silence. He wasn't buying cooperation. He was trying to buy distance, trying to remove me from your life, trying to make me disappear. As if feelings could be negotiated like contracts, as if loyalty could be purchased, as if a heart came with a market value. I looked down at the check again. The number was ridiculous. Enough money to make most people hesitate, enough money to make many people walk away. But the truth? The paper meant absolutely nothing to me, because there are things wealth can buy and things it never will. He watched me carefully. You haven't even considered it? I smiled faintly. There's nothing to consider. His jaw tightened. Everyone has a price. The words hung in the air. Slowly I stood. The movement immediately caught his attention. My hands rested on the table. My eyes locked onto his. And for the first time during the meeting, my smile disappeared completely. No, the room felt cold. Everyone does not have a price. His confidence faltered slightly, just slightly. But I noticed, because people who believe everything can be bought become uncomfortable when they encounter something that can't. Something beyond money, beyond power, beyond influence. I pushed the check closer to him. Keep it. His eyes narrowed. You'd refuse this amount for her. For her. The way he said it irritated me. As though you were a transaction, a calculation, a problem to be solved. I straightened. I'd refuse 10 times that amount. The silence that followed was immediate, complete. His expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief, then frustration, because he couldn't understand, couldn't comprehend why someone would walk away from a fortune. But the answer was simple. Money has value. People have value. And those are not the same thing. He stood as well. You realize what you're giving up? I laughed softly. No. I met his gaze. You realize what you're failing to buy? The tension between us sharpened. Neither of us looked away. Neither of us moved. The city lights reflected in the glass behind him. For a moment, it felt less like a conversation and more like a battle. Not of fists, not of weapons, but of principles, of beliefs, of what mattered most. Finally, he shook his head. This is irrational. Perhaps you barely know her. My expression softened. Maybe from the outside it looked foolish. Maybe it looked reckless. Maybe it looked completely irrational. But some things aren't measured by logic. Some people enter your life and change its direction entirely. Not because of what they give you. Not because of what they offer. But because of who they are. I looked toward the city beyond the windows. Somewhere out there, you were living your life completely unaware of this conversation, completely unaware that someone had attempted to place a price tag on your importance, a price tag on my feelings, a price tag on something that should never have one. The thought almost offended me. I turned back toward him. Do you know the difference between wealth and value? He remained silent. I continued. Wealth is what you own. My voice was calm. Value is what you refuse to lose. For the first time, he had no response, no argument, no clever negotiation, nothing, because deep down, I think he understood, even if he didn't want to admit it. I picked up my coat from the chair. The meeting was over. There was nothing left to discuss, nothing left to negotiate, nothing left to sell. As I walked toward the door, his voice stopped me. What if she leaves you? I paused. The question lingered in the air. A fair question, a painful question, one with no guarantees. I turned slightly. If she chooses to leave, that's her choice. His eyebrows lifted. But I won't leave because someone offered money. The room fell silent once again, because that was the truth. Love, loyalty, friendship, whatever name people choose to give such connections, they only mean something when they remain voluntary, chosen, freely given. The moment money controls the decision, it becomes something else entirely. I opened the door. The cool evening air greeted me from the hallway beyond. Behind me, the man remained standing beside his untouched check. Still rich, still powerful, still unable to buy what he wanted. Before leaving, I looked back one final time. Keep your money, my voice echoed softly. Then I smiled, a genuine smile this time. Some things in this world are worth more. And with that, I walked away. Not because I was a prince, not because I wore a title, not because I came from a kingdom, but because no amount of money could convince me to abandon something I truly cared about. The check remained on the table, forgotten, meaningless, just paper, while the person he wanted me to leave remained priceless. The elevator doors closed behind me. For a moment, I stood alone in the silence. The city lights reflected from the polished steel walls. My hands remained in my coat pockets, my expression calm. But inside I was furious, not because of the money, not because of the insult, because he believed you could be reduced to a number, a figure on a piece of paper, a problem solved through a transaction. The elevator descended slowly, floor after floor, and with each passing second, the conversation replayed in my head. Everyone has a price, a no. Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone has fears. Everyone has weaknesses. But a price? No. Some things should never be sold. The doors opened into the underground parking area. Security personnel immediately straightened. Your Highness, I nodded. Prepare the car? Yes, sir. The black vehicle pulled away from the building moments later. Rain had started falling. Tiny droplets slid down the windows as the city moved around us. I looked outside. People hurried beneath umbrellas. Couples walked together along sidewalks. Friends laughed beneath shop awnings. Life continued normally, unaffected by kings, unaffected by princes, unaffected by money, and somehow that felt comforting. The driver glanced into the mirror. Back to the residence. Your Highness. For a moment I considered it. The palace suite, the guards, the endless schedules. Then I shook my head. No, sir, just drive. The driver nodded. No further questions. The city drifted by. And eventually, without planning it, without meaning to, I found myself near your neighborhood. I recognized it immediately. The streets, the cafes, the familiar corners I had secretly memorized, a ridiculous habit for a prince. Yet here I was, again. The car slowed at a traffic light. My gaze wandered across the street, and then I saw you. My breath caught. You were standing outside a small bookstore, holding a paper bag against your chest. Rain danced around the streetlights. Golden reflections shimmered across the wet pavement.